as Goldberg come in and go, I don't know what I'm doing here. They've just said that they'll pay me like $2 million per day. So I just said, aye, all right, go in beast mode.
For a wee second there, Kev looked like my mum. See this podcast, it's genuinely like 40 minutes of us talking pish and then 20 minutes about the match.
Oh, I may have to cut that.
I mean, I appreciate that.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Raw is Ginger.
Well, welcome back to the next episode of Raw is Ginger. Today, we decided to go away from the WWF, WWE stuff, and we have voted for some WCW. And we decided to go for the Goldberg Vs DDP at Halloween Havoc in 1998. How is everybody? And the mug?
Hey, the mug. It's the Iron Man mug this time. That's how we know he means business. Well, first of all, Toner, thank you for suggesting the video. Because, I mean, I do have bias. Like, during Monday Night Wars, I was a WWF guy. Well, I never really watched a lot of WCW until I got older. So, yeah, my bias would have went straight there. So, it's a good shout for the WCW one. So, how are you getting on?
My balls also.
There we go. I knew you would not be able to resist talking about it on air. I knew it. And that will probably go in the tagline. My balls are sore.
So, as like we should do an intro video. And it should actually be, I think, me and Kev should be dressing up as different wrestlers and just performing their finisher on you. And I honestly, I know Kev will be right up for that.
Yeah, of course. Things
right, but 2 seconds. If we're talking about fighting, then right.
Oh, Kev's got his Super Ginge t-shirt on. Yes. Hey, there we go. He's got the hair.
Get the hair done.
Got the hair down, and you've got your Super Ginge t-shirt on, as I was saying.
Going beast mode.
For a wee second there, Kev looked like my mum.
with the beard and everything.
Mate, the 10 to 5 shadow and everything, do you know what I mean?
That's actually something that I think, see, once we build up our following, we should do like a wee kind of, maybe make it a wee kind of fundraising thing, saying like, you know, if we raise X amount of money, we'll try and hire out like a wrestling ring for me to get the crap kicked out of me. And I'm guaranteed we'll hit about £3,000 or something.
Surely you could just get like one of these boxing clubs to give us their boxing ring.
Yeah, but this is where you come in with promotion and marketing stuff, because I'm shite at it and you are a professional salesman by every stretch of the imagination. So yeah, anything that you can get done, basically people want to beat the crap out of Ginger, so we've figured that out.
Yeah, but I say for me and Kev, it should just be me and Kev that get the pleasure of doing this.
Right, but who would be the referee? Or are you just not bothered?
No, we can just hire like a wee dweeby guy or something like that just to fling on a referee's tap.
I'm the wee dweeby guy.
You're the one that's to get like just that. We'll get like some old guy or something like that just to. All he needs to do is jump about the background anyway. We could get a fucking mannequin to do that, and then it would just be sequences like, do you know what I mean? Clothesline.
Quickly turning. We talk about mannequin. It's quickly turning Al Snow. Probably by the time this video goes out, we'll be a few weeks down the line anyway. So, yeah, if anybody is interested in seeing me get the crap kicked out of me, to raise funds for Ginger Media and Raw is Ginger, let us know and we'll start a crowdfunder. How about that?
And if it raises £1,
depending on how much it raises, depends on what finishers you have to do to me. Like, for example, say if you got to like, you know, say if we got to 500, you could 3D me through a table.
I say it should be £25 for every £25 raised is one finisher.
Oh, that could be an interesting one. But as it goes up, like the higher the finisher is, like the more severe it is.
Yeah. So I mean, at some point, you're probably going to get chokeslammed off a cliff.
That probably does make sense. Knowing you, it definitely makes sense. It would all depend on like if your balls are healed up enough that you can actually lift me.
I'm going to be deadly serious with you now, right? Irrespective of whether my balls are filled up or not, the opportunity to do that, I will take long-term damage.
Did you say balls field up? It sounded like you said where my balls are field up, and I'm like, right, if that's the crowdfunder we're going for, we need to get on OnlyFans.
And just for anybody that's wondering, Kev has some lovely feet pics on OnlyFans. I would suggest getting there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I know we've not seen mine. I've got the ginger hobbit feet. That's real niche market right there.
You know what's brilliant?
And Ginger Media is a niche platform.
See this podcast, it's genuinely like 40 minutes of us talking pish and then 20 minutes about the match.
If we're lucky, it's 20 minutes. Like, that's normally when it's like a full scale match. Like this match was only from counted, it was what, 10 minutes long?
I think it was about there. Aye, no, about 10 minutes. Aye.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, I just did what I normally do. I went and like tried to find it on YouTube or whatever. And I found it. And I love that because WCW content you get on YouTube because Vince McMahon doesn't care if that gets copyrighted. So it was Goldberg, Diamond Dallas Page, Halloween Havoc 1998. It was the closer match, singles match for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, aka the Big Gold Belt. And it did last 10 minutes and 29 seconds. Now, Kev, you, like I said, you subjected yourself to
I did.
the full pay-per-view. Why?
It's just for the sheer nostalgia, and you know, when you're building up to that such a big match with such big characters, you want to know how it got to that match.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it started off. The first match was a fairly good match. It was Jericho and Raven.
Yeah, seen that for the World Television Championship.
Yep, and you know it was a good match.
Mm-hmm.
It was under 10 minutes though.
Yeah, 7 minutes 50 was the official time.
And then it's like, why are you putting like these two on for such a short amount of time? And then the next 3 or 4 fights after that were no very good.
Yeah,
considering they had Finlay and Perry Saturn.
Yep. So they had so I brought up the Halloween Havoc on Wikipedia anyway, so I'll just run it through. So
do you remember on it though? I don't know if it'll tell you in Wiki, but it was their pay-per-view event, but it ran over.
Yes.
So
and it cut off.
And they had to play the match on Nitro, I believe.
Yep, they had to play it on Nitro for free. Like like I say, WCW ran Halloween Havoc 1998 to 3.5 hours rather than the standard 3. Due to this, many pay-per-view feeds ended while the main event was still underway. WCW aired the match the following night on the TNT show Nitro. So yeah, that's like by some cruel twist of fate, fans did get to watch the disastrous WrestleMania 6 rematch between the Ultimate Warrior and Hollywood Hulk Hogan.
Oh,
only to see their screens go black
bad.
just as Diamond Dallas Page prepared to lock up with Goldberg. Oh man.
Yeah.
Imagine that though. Like, I mean, obviously I never watched it, like because I was, like I said, I was a WWF guy. But imagine getting through all that dross and getting to this match, which was a very, very good match, and it cuts out.
Yeah.
See, and I agree as well. Like, obviously, there was a lot of WCW, a lot of kind of rotten matches, a lot of kind of. But I felt this was like a kind of unexpected hidden gem in that kind of era. I felt the match was a lot stronger and better than anybody thought it was ever going to be.
Yeah.
And I would put it, seeing the kind of WCW times, I would put this definitely in my top 10.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like I said, I'll run through the card since it's up anyway of what it was. So, as stated, Chris Jericho defeated Raven by submission for a singles match for the WCW World Television Championship. And then Wrath defeated Meng, M-E-N-G, is that right?
Haku.
Right.
That's Haku.
Yeah, right. And that's, well, it says Meng on this.
Aye, but they couldn't use Haku because WWF owned that.
Right, fair enough. What? So yeah, that was one. That was a singles match. That only lasted 4 minutes and 23 seconds. That was and it's actually not the shortest match on the card.
No.
Disco Inferno defeated Juventa Guerrera. The singles match, 9 minutes 39. Alex Wright defeated Fit Finlay, as stated. That was 5 minutes 9. Well, and then we come to the shortest match where Perry Saturn defeated Lodi. Was that Lodi?
Yeah.
Well, in a singles match, that came in 3 minutes and 50 seconds. That's an interesting one. Well, Billy Kidman defeated Disco Inferno while retaining the WCW Cruiserweight Championship. Rick Steiner and Buff Bagwell defeated the Giant and Scott Steiner for the WCW World Tag Championships.
That was actually a good match. The story behind it, and then the next match after that as well.
The next match was Rick Steiner and Scott Steiner. Rick getting the win at 5 minutes and 10. So in total, they were in the ring for about 14 minutes?
Yeah.
What between them both? It's not bad. Not bad. Scott Hall defeated Kevin Nash by knockout. No,
it was count out.
Oh, sorry, count out. Count out, my apologies. Wikipedia did say count out. I just effed up. It was because underneath it.
You can edit this.
I'm not editing it. I'm infallible. I make mistakes. It's because underneath it is the Bret Hart US Championship match, and he defeated Sting by knockout. So I jumped the gun a little. But yeah, those were the two longest matches on the card. With Scott Hall and Kevin Nash at 14 minutes 19 seconds and Bret Hart v Sting at 15 minutes and 5 seconds. Then Hollywood Hulk Hogan defeated the Warrior. That lasted 4 minutes 18, but probably felt like about 5 hours. And then, as stated, we had this one where Goldberg defeats DDP in 10 minutes and 30 seconds. Now, just to give a wee bit of backstory for the episode, we were going to try and do like a watch back, do a reaction video for it, but yeah, the lag time was considerably shit. So I did say for us all to watch it as a backup just in case. But the reason I wanted to watch this in a reaction style video is because I did watch it, and there was some really good wrestling in this, as Toner's alluded to. I thought some of it was absolutely fantastic.
It was quite close to the end of Goldberg's 173 day or 173 match win. It was only about 153.
Yeah. Is that the allegedly like with the WrestleMania figures?
Aye. But 173, it was like 153 or something.
Aye.
But this was like coming to the end of his run as undefeated. And it was like a lot of the best wrestling he was starting to do started round about this match. Because he'd only been in for like a year and a half by this point.
All right.
Because he came in like 97.
Yeah, because like I say, I was WWF, so I didn't really know much about Goldberg and how long he was actually in the company for. I just knew that he was built as basically, this titan that could not be defeated after a long period.
And I suppose, to be fair, when he did eventually lose it, was it not Nash had beat him, but Hall had tasered him?
Yeah.
But it wasn't even a clean.
Yeah. I think that sounds like classic Vince Russo style writing. I don't know if it was him, but it just that has the fingerprints of Russo right there.
I think he'd left by that point. Yeah. I think he left like mid-98.
But it does sound like something that maybe he pitched before he jumps out and they just went, okay, someone needs to get tasered. Right. Someone getting tasered sounds like a Russo like throw out kind of pitch. Definitely does. But yeah, so like I said, watching the start of the match, and the first thing I found weird was seeing DDP with long hair. Because I'm so used to how he looks now. And he actually looks, I think, better now than he did back in 1998. I know it was because he always yeah, I know obviously because of the DDP yoga and stuff like that as well that he does. He's in great shape. But like I was saying, back then he didn't, look bad. I'm not saying he looked bad, but like you can tell he looks much better and in a better place now than he was then. I do like how they were calling him like the people's champion, and then they were trying to kind of backtrack from it because they were like, could WWF sue us for this? But was Rocky the people's champion at that point, or was he still like, or was he corporate Rock at this point? Like, had the people's champion even been mentioned in 1998?
I don't think so.
I wouldn't have said it had been mentioned at that point. I think it was maybe late 98, early 99.
Mhm.
I guess off the top of my head, to be fair.
Yeah. Well, if anybody in the comments can tell us, when the Great One became the people's champion, so we know that it's a case of WCW should have sued them, and not the other way around. But are you going to Google it, Kevin? Check.
I'll get a go. Aye.
Yeah, go. Like I say, so Goldberg's coming off really strong, like in the opening exchanges. There's a lot of grapple and throw out, grapple and throw out, grapple and they both fall out, grapple and throw out. It's very much like just that kind of style, just basically to show the fact that Goldberg is this essentially like the immovable object of WCW. And at that point, I genuinely was thinking, okay, is this just going to be how it is? Like, it's the start of the match wasn't great. It got better, but it wasn't the best start. Like, just I was like, come on, like show me something. Like, show me like something. But when it kicked into gear,
Aye. It was 2000, the people's
2000,
champion.
right?
So
there we go.
WCW could have sued them.
Yeah, they could have.
But in 2000, the place was imploding. So
Aye.
I don't think they were caring.
Wouldn't have made a difference in the long run, but yeah, would have shown there was still a bit of fight in the old dog. Yeah. So then we get to kind of like some actual, wrestling spots as well throughout the match. There was two particular moves that I liked, because as we said in Mankind Undertaker, it was like the Bill Goldberg pay-per-views. Remember 2 or 3 big spots, and this is the Bill Goldberg pay-per-view, so I remember 2 or 3 spots. So the first one was like the big boot that Goldberg gave DDP. I felt that. I felt my ribs cracking for him. I must have been like getting hit with one of Triple H's sledgehammers.
Must have been.
Well, and then you have the infamous one where he tries to get him up for the was it the jackknife?
Jackhammer.
Yeah, the jackhammer. Tries to get him up for that, and DDP counters into a diamond cutter. Oh, now that was sweet. Well, obviously going into this blind, I did not know what was coming. I saw it, I was like, holy crap. That just showed you the skill that DDP actually had and how much he was shafted when he went into WWF. Like completely and utterly. Like there was skill there, there was a performer there. And some great work could have been done, and they just squandered it by making him, get pinned by the Undertaker's misses at the time.
I think we all had dreams of being pinned by his misses at the time.
Yeah, but we would have died. Because the Undertaker would have been like, nope, we really would be resting in peace. Yeah, so obviously remember that. I don't know if that was before or after Diamond Cut, but I do remember like Goldberg trying to go for the spear and DDP moving it, and he just rallies straight in. I genuinely thought that was like, like a train coming towards him. So I was like, if he did not get out of there, he probably would have been split in half.
What was interesting as well, though, is like Goldberg says, don't know if you've seen it in Jericho's podcast, as to how proud he was of that match, because he felt that was the first time that a lot of people realised that he can do a bit of wrestling and he doesn't just last a couple of minutes. But he knocked himself out during the match as well, he states.
Yeah.
When he done the spear. But then managed to get him up.
Because that was the spear that we were talking about. Who went into the turnbuckle?
Because you see the side, you see the side of his head hitting off the actual post,
off it,
and then he just sort of rolls out the ring. That's when DDP goes out to check on him.
You're like, you okay? Good. Let's keep going. What? And then obviously he tries to do the jackhammer first and can't get him up. Well, and then does it again for the second time, and then the diving cutter comes out. What? And everybody's like, get the cover, DDP, get the cover. And we're like, well, we all know the ring psychology by this point. If you've got a count up to about 6 or 7 by this point, and then you're going for a cover, there's no way he's going to get to 3.
No.
What? In wrestling terminology, like being out for 7 seconds is like being out for 30 minutes. So obviously he goes for the cover, doesn't happen. And then we get the inevitable finish of Goldberg getting the win. As usual.
Yep.
At this point. But what I do like is that he's quite, everybody like slates on kind of Bill Goldberg's kind of, acting ability. Well, I don't actually think he's that bad an actor. Well, I've seen him in what was the film that he done, what WCW done, and it had David Arquette in it. Well, and it was basically like, they were essentially taking on like WCW. Like,
Ready to Rumble.
Yes. I always remember that because like when them done the whole sand, like the sand in the eye thing, or like the DDP, and I went, "You idiot, that stuff doesn't work." And then like kind of locks him up, and he's like, "What?" And he goes, "Diamond upside down is a pussy," and runs away. I remember it for that bit, and I also remember it for the bit where at the end where Goldberg spears a guy through one of the convenience store windows. Comes out, he's like, "Can you say it now?" And the guy's like, "I'm your bitch and you're my daddy." And I was like, okay, I remember those 2 things from actually watching it once.
The thing is, though, he wasn't really acting; he was just sort of playing the Goldberg character. So that came easy to him. He'd been doing it for a while.
Yeah, but also, I've watched him in, ironically, the Goldbergs, which is just like peak casting right there. He's not actually, he plays Goldberg, but he's in a show called it. And he's like the coach's like brother, like super jock, like college guy, like the college.
So he was. Coach. I forgot he was in that.
Yeah, and I thought he was really good in it. In fairness, well, he blended in with the humor, kind of with the way he played that character, trying to play it like so straight edge, and then you've got the wee bits of vulnerability in there. I thought he's actually
his voice, man. He sounds like an 80-year-old woman that smoked 100 a day since she was 13.
Funnily enough, that's what he sounded like since he was 13.
Oh my god! Yeah, but I don't think he's a bad actor. In fairness, I think he's got the chops to do what he needs to do. Also because I wouldn't want Goldberg to kick my ass. At the same time, I wonder how many concussions has Goldberg gave himself from either doing those spots or banging his head when he does the usual banging his head. I'm like, he was in the NFL. Does he not know that was a fucking flight risk?
He's probably gave himself countless concussions over the years by doing that.
Because who was it that he played for in the NFL? Was it the Atlanta Falcons?
I think so.
Because they mentioned it in the pay-per-view. Because they said, like, they'd asked them, what people like, why don't you ever challenge him? And they're like, this guy's fucking insane. So yeah, I'm curious now. So I am definitely going to be, Goldberg NFL and see where he was. I'm pretty sure it was Arizona, but I'll just double check.
I mean, he's not the first NFL player to be come in and just brutalize everybody. I mean, the WWF done it with Brock Lesnar.
Aye.
And I think Goldberg didn't really last as long, like full time, whereas Brock Lesnar did. And
Ben Brock Lesnar had the kind of history of wrestling.
so he's got the background in wrestling as well, whereas Goldberg come in and go, I don't know what I'm doing here. They've just said that they'll pay me like $2 million per day. So I just said, aye, all right.
Yeah. And then remember, like, Brock left to try and get back to the NFL. And he had a trial with the Patriots, but it ended after 2 weeks because of his back problems. There's like Goldberg, he played for the LA Rams, the 1990 season, and then he had a stint with Sacramento Gold Miners of the Canadian Football League in 1992, and then at the Atlanta Falcons 1992 to 1994, and he was cut from them in 1995. He was selected by Carolina Panthers that season, but never played a game because and he was the first person to have been cut by the Panthers. Imagine that. Like, because like the Carolina Panthers are like now well established in the NFL, and having who was the first player that you ever cut? Goldberg. And they're still alive. Well, apparently, the reason that his career ended was because he tore his lower abdomen off of his pelvis.
Nice.
Now, that just if ever there's a Goldberg style sounding injury, it's definitely that.
I wonder what the odds are that he done it to himself.
Well, kind of like, you with your boys.
Yeah. I was watching Retro Wrestling. There was a few bra and panties matches.
Oh yeah. I know. This is when we get cancelled because we mentioned that, and they'll be like, no, don't talk about that. But that was the quality that sadly we had at the time.
Sadly?
Yeah. I mean, for women's
Teenage
wrestling as a profession, but teenage boys fucking enjoyed it. We loved it. But if you're talking about, like for the women's revolution of wrestling and all that kind of stuff that it is now, it would be classed as a dark time. But not for us teenage boys at the time.
It was a dark room, not a dark time.
Oh man. Right. So I've got to ask, since we are talking about it and since we're going down that road of cancellation, we might as well just go. Who was your diva of choice if the one that, like, if you had that chance? Like, we never would, but who was it?
Lita.
There it is.
Tori
Wilson. Nice.
I remember years and years ago, when you start a new job and all that, and they do the icebreakers, and they say if you could have dinner with 3 people, who would you pick? And it was so sad, sad to it. You've got all these people going round, and they're like, my dead grandparents, Elvis, former presidents, and I said Tori Wilson and David Hay. That's all I need. And they went, why? And I said, so he could hold her down.
Oh God, man. Why did I ask you to come on this? This channel is going to get cancelled before the first episode even drops. And so then the first 3 were me and Kev, so we should be all right. But the second, the 4th one drops, we won't even get to this episode. Oh man!
I mean, this is cancel culture. We're done.
Yeah, we are so screwed. Good thing I had a good reputation. It's just gone to shit now. Oh man! Well, mine's was Stacey Keebler. I'm a legs guy. And yeah, she knew how to use them.
Apparently.
Yeah, allegedly, according to the song. And also according to Paul Heyman, because I remember one of the Alliance wrestling matches, I think she accompanied the Dudleys out and distracted the ref by lifting up her skirt. And the exact words from Paul Heyman were, Stacey Keebler should always wear a thong to ringside.
Is that not the match where Jeff Hardy just spanked her and she just fell off the ring?
Yep. Right.
If
So
I said what I was thinking, you would definitely be cancelled.
yeah, that probably sounds about right. In terms of the actual like reception, the critical reception to the pay, we'll start with the pay-per-view as a whole. What it was a very much a mixed bag. What the main criticism obviously coming from Hogan v Warrior 2.
Yeah.
That's I was watching like one of the kind of wrestling podcast documentary things, like, and it had said that the apparent reason was that Hogan had went to Bischoff and had said, and it basically said, you know, to bring Warrior in, pay him a 7-figure sum so that he could basically get his own back for WrestleMania 6.
Yep.
Now, that's the alleged. What we all know what the Hulkster was like. Do you think that's probably true?
Definitely.
Donor?
I mean,
you'd be very surprised if it wasn't. I mean, I would definitely say at the very least there's high truth elements to it.
Then WCW announcer Gene Oakland described that match as a disaster. Like saying, it's weird that my best match ever was with Hogan, and at the same time my worst ever match was with Hogan. That was from Warrior himself. Eric Bischoff conceded that match was one of the worst matches in history, admitting that it pretty much stunk up the joint. But he said he dismisses the notion that he hired Warrior solely to lose to Hogan as a return for his loss, claiming it's not true. But yeah, and saying, you know, those who hold that belief are drinking their own Kool-Aid. But I do think that's just Bischoff covering his own back. There's no.
I think whether he got hired for it or whether he was hired and then Hogan pitched it, you know, I would still believe that Hogan very much whether wanted to bring him in or there was already talks or he was already in and then he pitches it. I certainly think that he wanted to get his own back on that.
Well, Finn Martin of Power Slam disputed Bischoff's claims, saying that WCW hired Warrior back at great expense in May 1998, specifically to massage the Hogan ego. Now, that's pretty much what I would say. They were saying they used Ted Turner's checkbook to buy me to come back to lose a match to Hogan. It was repulsive when I finally realised it. And if I would have known, I never would have went back for all the money that they gave me. Again, that is from Warrior himself.
Yep.
So there's so many people that are basically saying, yeah, that was the case. The only person that's really, from what I'm seeing for the critical reception about it, the only person that's denying it is Bischoff. Well, and that probably is because he was the one that had to he's just had to cover his, you know, his own back.
I mean, I think when they brought in the Ultimate Warrior, it was for the entire year. So it was like 7 figures for 1 year. And I think in that year, it was like 3 to 5 matches that he done. So it's like, if you're paying somebody that amount of money for 3 or 5 matches, whatever it was, it's like you could count them in one hand, whatever it was. But it's like, that is just for that one match. That's what they paid him for. And they're like, well, we need to make people think that it's, you know, we brought him in and then he just flaked out because it's the Warrior.
Yeah.
So
well, it does make sense. What, in fairness. And yeah, I'm of the camp that it was definitely, you know, Hogan wanting his ego soothed. I'll definitely say that. But surprisingly, I can't see much written about the Goldberg v DDP match specifically. I mean, I'll go in and see if I can try and find another couple of reviews on it, but it's mainly, I think it's just because mainly everyone wants to talk about the crap fest rather than anything else. I mean, one thing I found is, like, you know, like the stuff from Goldberg talking in the Talk is Jericho podcast, how they delivered the spear to Diamond Dallas Page, and gave himself, a concussion. From it. And he's saying, pretty proud of that one. I speared him and knocked myself out. Then I was able to get him up in the jackhammer and finish the match off. I think for that reason alone, and I pretty much dispelled the rumor that I couldn't go more than 2 minutes in the ring. It was completely dependent on who was leading me. So he's basically saying, that he could work a good match as long as he had the right dance partner.
Actually, I think DDP was very much underrated in his work rate in the ring,
100%.
But I think you didn't see enough of it when they transitioned over. I don't think they kind of utilised that to its full potential. But I think definitely, this for me, and it was the reason I'd kind of selected, because I thought it was more not actually like a hidden gem, but it's one of those where I thought it was a good match that a lot of people kind of bypassed over because WCW, but also what else happened on that card.
Yeah. Apparently, what Goldberg also said in that podcast that DDP really wanted the match to be great and ended up handing Goldberg a 40-page layout for what he wanted in the match. He's saying, unbeknownst to the public,
he wanted to take like umpteen spears and all this.
Yeah.
He wanted
unbeknownst to the public, I didn't want to
spear.
give the 14 spears that Dallas actually wanted me to give him. 14 spears. He barely would have survived one.
I'm surprised he didn't say, give me 40. So spear me, pick me up, chuck me in, spear me, and just keep doing that.
Yeah. that would sum it up. But yeah, it was just some of the stuff there that I just went on to read there about that, a 40-page dossier essentially of how he wants the match to go, and it's basically DDP taking an absolute pounding. I know that would play away like, where we could be like, that would be like Jeff Hardy v Undertaker. He won't go down, he won't quit, and he earns respect. If it went down like that would have been a squash match. It would just been seen like, Goldberg was just torturing him.
And the thing is, as well, this was like 10 years into DDP's career. He started wrestling when he was 32. So this is a guy that's in his 40s.
Yeah.
Going up against Goldberg, who's like early 30s.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Well. And it's like Goldberg was just at the start of his career here. DDP has been in this for 10 years, but is still trying to build himself up as a big name.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until later on that DDP actually did get the recognition that he did in WCW, albeit far too late because, WCW was imploding in itself.
Yeah, pretty much.
The fact that he said, I'll do a match with Goldberg, I'll lose to Goldberg, that's fine.
Yeah.
Even though they've pushed Goldberg as this behemoth when he's been there for like so long, building it up. And it's like people don't understand the background of it. It's like he's been there all this time, working day in, day out, and then they just push this other guy, and it's like, and he's there saying, I'll do it.
Yeah, because there was obviously WCW was in like, the ego has landed. And definitely in the sports entertainment industry at that point. So it's understandable that guys like DDP, Booker T, Chris Jericho, Benoit, Guerrero, Malenko, they would have all been pissed that they weren't getting a chance after being loyal. But credit to DDP for sticking out. Same with Booker T as well. And then they also made the jump for the ill-fated Alliance era. That'll be an interesting one to talk about when we get round to it.
Yeah.
Because in fairness, at the time, I didn't mind it because I didn't know much about WCW. So I think that worked to my advantage where I didn't have the goggles on of, we should have Flair and Goldberg and blah, 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 and Nash and Hall, NWO, So I didn't have those goggles on. So I was able to look at it just for what they were. But at the same time, when you watch it back in hindsight, But we'll get into that another day.
It's like getting into Rob Asda and coming out with the Savers stuff. Do you know what I mean?
I would be more thinking it was, going into Rob Asda and it was getting reduced to clear. because that's essentially what WCW was at that point. So if we had to give our own kind of Dave Meltzer star ratings for DDP versus Bill Goldberg, like Halloween Havoc 1998, start with you, Toner. What would your star rating be?
3.
3, very respectable. Well, even though you say it's in your top 10, I'm quite surprised it's quite low. It's quite low.
I would say it's at the bottom end of the top 10, but I think it's more because I felt it was underrated. I felt it was a better match than thought. I don't think, I would say only my top 5 matches, the ones that are in amongst that, would I rate kind of 4 or 5. I think there's probably only 2 matches I would rate a 5. So I'd say most of the stuff that I look at and watch are low. But I would say kind of 3 pushing to probably 3.5 on this.
Kev?
I would have gave it a 3.5, just because, like you were saying, it's totally underrated. It's the main event of the card, but it get totally undershadowed by, Hogan's
all
ego.
All the crap that came before it.
And it's like, there was so many other matches that they could have done without even Hogan being there that would have been better. And they didn't, because, they just wanted to undermine Goldberg and DDP just because they wanted to stroke Hogan's ego.
Yeah.
Which was a big thing in WCW. There was like the NWO here, and there was Eric Bischoff, and then Hogan's ego was up here. Nothing surpassed that. Everything had to go through Hogan first, and it was like he couldn't be the main event because it wasn't for the title.
Yeah.
So he's like, I want the second to last match then, because that was going to be lower mid card. And then he's like, no, because it was supposed to be on just before the Steiner brothers. It was supposed to be on just before that. And then he's like, no, I want to be on second to last. And because it was Hogan, he got his way.
Wow.
And because of that, the match never gets showed on pay-per-view in some countries.
Interesting.
Yep.
Well, I'm going to go against the grain, but I'm actually going to give it 2.5. What? Because while there was good spots in the match, parts of it, like I say, the start really dragged for me. It just felt like, it was just shove DDP, then shove him again, then shove him but go out with him, and then shove him again. And for me, also like the commentary team that they had, I just didn't like them. I don't know what it is. Well, I don't know. Maybe I was just so used to JR and Jerry the King, or JR and Paul Heyman, or even Michael Cole and Taz. At that point in time, and I'd never see it. But I think the WCW commentator team just sounded too abrasive for me.
That's because it's Bobby the Brain Heenan. Him and Tony Schiavone. They were so bitter against everybody. They spewed their hatred to everybody. And if you'd watched like earlier, like WWF, like 80s and 90s stuff, you'll have seen Bobby the Brain Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon. And, they were fantastic together.
Yeah.
And then Bobby the Brain Heenan just never changed. His character was just, I'm a weasel. I hate everybody. If they're a good guy. If it's a good guy, and then he turns, I love him now.
Yeah.
He's done that so many times. Look at that, it's terrible. People cheering him, and then he goes and does a turn. It's like, it's great, it's brilliant. He should have done that years ago. And it's like, he was so good at building up the bad guys.
I get
Nobody else could build them up as well as him, I think.
I disagree with that. I think Paul Heyman.
Paul Heyman learned from Bobby the Brain Heenan. He said everything I learned about building up heels was from Bobby the Brain Heenan.
But at the same time, like, you can learn, but then you can
Yeah.
master. Well, and I think Heyman has mastered that. And I know a lot of the purists will want to. This will probably get me cancelled more than Toner talking about his boys. Well, but I personally think that Paul Heyman is better. Well, I know he learned from Bobby the Brain. Well, he's got a great intellect. Well, otherwise we call him the Brain, but so does Heyman. Heyman's very astute and very clever. What? He's the type of guy that you would want to punch in the face. Well, because of how, but it's because of how he plays it so well and how Weasley he is. It just takes it to another level. I'm a huge fan of Heyman's work. I'm a huge fan of his promos. I'm a huge fan of his interviews. Like, his inside the ropes stuff. Like, everything that he does, like, I study that because I'm like, that is some of the best acting that you will see. And it's not even on, like, you know, it's not even in like a movie or whatever. It's just, it's there. And because he's so good, because he sprinkles enough truth in that you genuinely think that he's going to get lamped.
Mm-hmm. I think,
whereas, you know, kind of Bobby the Brain's a bit more of a character. Like,
I think
Heyman, there's always the sprinkle.
Bobby was better at commentating than he was at managing and building up the character while he was the manager. When he was the commentator, he built them up so well. He went so well with people that were building up the good guys. Paul Heyman needs to have a microphone and needs to be in the middle of the ring building them up. I agree with you there. Because Monday there, the promo that he done with Cody.
Yes.
That was one of the best.
It was fucking phenomenal.
Absolutely. I thought.
I mean,
because Cody was like, I'm not going to ask what you're going to say. Yeah. And you could see that Cody was starting to get built up because he's talking about Dusty, and it's like, oh my god, he's going to lamp him. He's just going to kick the utter crap at him.
Yeah. Well, and it was fantastic. I mean, Cody gave as good as he got. Like, at the start, like, where I genuinely thought he had got Heyman choked up. Well, and I think he did genuinely get him.
He did. Yeah.
Because he did say, like, I wasn't expecting that. You got me. It's like, but here goes. Well, and next thing you know, I just sat watching it and I was like, holy shit, this is why he is the best in the business and why he is put with the best in the business, because he has the gift, like the gift of the gab. He's basically the American Toner. But yeah, that's why I'd actually sent a tweet out saying, you know, that was absolute class. Like, me personally, I acknowledge Heyman.
Yeah.
What he is, he's absolutely fantastic with what he does. And I think his commentary doesn't get enough, you know, like actual commentary doesn't get enough credit, because he was co-commentary with Jim Ross in Infamous at WrestleMania X7. Thrust into a role that not a lot of people would have thought he could have done. And he did it really, really well. Him and JR had a great chemistry, to the point that people were gutted that the Alliance lost, and that because in turn they would lose Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
But then we got Jerry the King back and everyone was like, woo! But yeah, I think if that wasn't the case.
Then we get Paul Heyman back as like Paul Heyman rather than just the guy that sits and commentates.
Yeah, as the Paul Heyman for Brock Lesnar. And well, we all know how that's been.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's been a bit of a slight tangent, but for me, but yeah, the 2.5 stars for me. What good points closer to the end. Like I say, you know, Jack Hammer into the cutter, that boot that I felt go into DDP, the infamous concussion, and yeah, that was the great spots. But I like to look at the match as a whole, and it just kind of was a bit flat for me. In that sense, I know people will disagree with that. I am not saying that it's not a good match. I'm just saying it's underrated for a reason. And this is why people will want to do a crowdfunder to see me get my head kicked in. Might as well build up my heel persona so that way when they get the money in, they're like, right, we really want to see him go through a table. It's like, we want to see him pushed off a Titantron. We don't have one. We'll make one. And then we'll push him off it.
We'll get the King of the Ring glass partitions and
The exact same ones.
duplex you through them.
Connor, you can contact Kurt Angle. Like, well, mind me for the time he came to Scotland. Can you suplex my pal through some plate glass? He's like, no, I can throw him through head first. That's fine as well.
That's actually the next top that I'm getting framed is the one that I get him to sign.
Yeah. Well, I have seen that top. It's infamous. It is a good one. But yeah, we have officially covered our first non-WWF WWE televised event. We are going to be looking at some more, out of scope wrestling matches. We might not even be looking at straight up classics. We might be looking at a couple of honkers as well, because there's one thing people love. It's when you lambast a match that is just god awful.
I mean, just look at Undertaker Goldberg.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh,
that was like watching that time that my grandpa thought that he could take somebody on that cut him off.
Oh,
He couldn't.
The joys.
But to be fair, neither could the other guy. By the time I helped him out with his wheelchair, you know what I mean?
Yeah. We will need to have we'll end up creating a playlist at some point. It'll be about Goldberg matches, because I want to talk about Goldberg Brock at WrestleMania 20. I want to talk about Goldberg and Taker. I want to talk about, Goldberg and Brock again. For their rematch. There's plenty of Goldberg matches that we can talk about. So we'll end up having a series of those matches. And I also wanted to do some kind of opinion ones as well. Some opinion videos, like because we're going to be getting into WrestleMania season. I think the most controversial one that we can do that will definitely get us cancelled is, should Chris Benoit be in the Hall of Fame?
Ooh.
Obviously, we'll leave the answers for the actual video, and it'll be the same with should China have a solo Hall of Fame induction rather than just a DX induction? All those kind of ones. We'll do controversial.
But should China have an induction in the WWE Hall of Fame or in Pornhub Hall of Fame?
Both.
Both.
We were pretty much agreed on that. There we go. We don't need to do the China one now. We can do that as a YouTube short. I'll just clip it to go on that or that. Both. There we go. Boom. We're sorted.
I mean, it's bad when our highlight reel is off a YouPorn.
I mean, in fairness, so was X-Pac. But yeah, that's always an interesting one. There could be other ones as well. We talk about underrated kind of light heavyweight or cruiserweight kind of guys. I mean, Hurricane Helms instantly comes to mind. But for me, X-Pac was probably one of them as well. Billy Kidman too. Because we were talking about WCW. I did go out and watch the Billy Kidman match because I was a bit of a fan of his back in the day. So yeah, just look at the kind of undercards and the ones that never really got a chance.
Spike
Dudley. I seen a short recently of when the Undertaker choke slammed him as these big evil guys out the ring and onto the floor. I genuinely thought he was dead.
Yeah.
Shame that he wasn't.
No, I'm glad for him. I think he's selling real estate now, in real life.
Fucking hated him. The only one I hated more was Rey Mysterio. I fucking hated Rey Mysterio. See, every time he came out, I was fucking... And he still kicks about. It's so fucking frustrating. So it's like, mate, just fucking give it up, man.
Right, save all this.
It's like my gran still thinking she can Zumba. Do you know what I mean? You fucking can. Piss off.
Right, save all this. Because we will need to do a video about that. Just you ranting about Rey Mysterio. And we will break the internet because everybody will want to kill you. And then do a follow-up praising Dominic. And then we'll really break the internet.
The worst thing is that he gets fucking cheered. He gets fucking cheered. For what? He's the most. I mean, for fuck. No, right, aye.
Right,
I'm
save it.
going to go off on a fucking tangent here.
Save it.
Fucking hate him.
Well,
Hate him.
we don't have an extra 3 hours. I want to get to my bed.
Do you know the only thing that I wished? That he's had a sleepover at Benoit's house.
Oh, oh, I may have to cut that.
I mean, I appreciate that. That's why I left that to the end.
Actually, I probably won't, because realistically, who's going to make it to the end of this? Well, for those that have made it to the end, my deepest apologies. But also let us know if there's any matches you want us to cover, any pay-per-views, any opinions. Let us know in the comments section. Feel free to like the channel, give it a sub. Give it a lot of subs. We want to make money. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Raw as Ginger. Good night.
See ya.
Cheers.